Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today I have a special guest. This is Alia Wells, and she is a carnivore just like me. So, Alia, can you tell us all a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So originally from Chicago, mom of two small kids, 5 and 6, yes. And I have been dealing with weight issues since my son was born 7 years ago, and I've looked at various things and recently found carnivore. And actually, I found carnivore maybe like before Christmas last year, and then I finally was like, no, I got to try this. I got to do this. I got to see what's happening. And funny, I decided to do a YouTube channel to force me to stick to it, if that makes any sense at all. Like, I always wanted to do YouTube, but was never inspired by anything enough to carry through. So I started this my own channel, and it kind of was very funny because it's kept me going on this journey of carnivore. There
Okay.
you go. That's a little bit about. There's my intro. I
All
love
right.
steak.
Well, that's a good one. What is your favorite carnivore food now that you've been doing it for so long?
Steak.
Steak.
Steak, bacon, butter. That's
Any
about it.
particular kind of steak that you like more than others?
Okay, so this is difficult because of where I live. I live in South America. I don't know what the cuts are called in the US. So
Oh.
compared to what they're called here. So I like one called churrasco, which is really like fatty, and the one called punto de anca. And I translated it once and I can't remember the name, but apparently it's really expensive in the US. It's some
Mm.
part on the back that's really fatty. And I think every time I go to order it, they're like, this lady's going to give herself a heart attack. She keeps coming here and ordering this steak. Now I'm like, make sure it's the fattiest version.
Yeah. Okay. So you said then it was late last year when you really started carnivore, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me clarify. It was
Okay.
late last year that I was like really researching it. And then
Okay.
I was trying to do ketovore because Nisha, the wife of Dr. Ken Berry, talks about ketovore. And I still wasn't convinced to get rid of vegetables. And so I started that and then went way off the rails on Christmas. And then really in the middle of February, I'm like, that's it. I got to do something. And so just one day, I'm like, I'm doing carnivore. And I started March 1st.
Okay.
Yeah.
So April, May. So you're
We're like three and a
three
half
and a
months.
half min. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so let me ask this because I've been saying that I've been doing carnivore since July of last year,
Yeah.
but some people would say that I probably have only been doing carnivore for about a month because I would I would cheat a little bit and I would have mashed potatoes or rice or something like that.
Yeah.
And not that I did that every day, but I would do that every once in a while.
Yeah.
So have you in your 3.5 months kind of been more like that, or have you been like really strict with the carnivore?
I think I've been stricter than that. But like for instance, I put lime on some of my food and I will consider that cheating. Like a little bit of lime juice. Um, but I ate it, yes, I did have one meal in I don't remember what month it was. I was visiting some friends in Bogota and or a friend, and we went out to a restaurant, and it was an Arabic restaurant. I'm like, oh my god, how am I just gonna eat meat at a Mediterranean Arabic restaurant? So I ate everything, and it was a total disaster afterwards. I was super sick. I felt really bad
Oh,
because I'd been so strict, and then I was eating hummus and the baba ganoush, which is like eggplant stuff, and all these various things. So I actually thought that it was the food that was making me feel bad. But my friend, who's not carnivore, he was vomiting all night and he had diarrhea. So we think the food was just bad. And I
hmm.
think that because I was on carnivore, I actually experienced the food poisoning way easier than he did. And it was
Potentially.
because I wasn't puking, I just felt terrible.
Yeah.
But so that proved me right, wrong, if that I like fell off for that huge cheat meal.
Yeah. Okay.
There's only been a couple instances like that because I've really been trying to be strict. But like when I do go out of town, Bogota's at this like crazy altitude and it screws up my throat. So I was sucking on halls for like a week while I'm trying to do carnivore, and that's obviously not carnivore, but you got to do what you got to do to survive the high altitude.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that's not as bad though as, eating. breads and stuff like
Oh,
that,
yeah.
right? So that's not that bad.
No,
All
that's
right.
not that bad. I mean, then other one day I was craving like nuts and chocolate. And so I bought some like keto chocolate and some cashews, and the cashews were like cooked in whatever vegetable oil, soy or something like that. So I had a
Oh,
bite of the chocolate and it was terrible. I was so depressed. Chocolate was horrible. And I was depressed about the next day after eating the cashews. It just like everything that I was doing that was good for my body, it was like instant response telling me, uh, you just screwed up.
yeah. Yeah.
So that's been helpful to keep me going on the straight and narrow.
Yeah, and it's funny because, you know, the first, I don't know, 9 months or so, I was cheating enough in the diet that I wasn't seeing problems when I did cheat, like very rarely. I kind
Okay.
of found like peanut butter was a problem. If I had peanut butter, that my
Yeah.
wrist would start hurting.
Oh, wow.
So, and then I found out that, you know, there's oxalates and stuff that in peanut butter that I didn't realize was, but same thing like with
Sure.
pepper. Like pepper, I
Oh, wow.
apparently is really high in oxalates, and I never knew that before. And sometimes
Sure.
I would put a bunch of pepper on my steak, and then like my wrist would start hurting, and I'd be like, well, "What the heck is going on?" But other
Right.
than that, not much was happening. Now that
Okay.
I've been really strict for at least a good month,
Yeah.
there was just one day, and this goes back. This is almost a month ago. I was about probably a week or so into being really strict, maybe a little longer. There was one day, it was my daughter's graduation party, and I had some macaroni and cheese and a piece of cake, and I just felt horrible.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. So it's
No,
interesting how your body, how that happens, you know, when your body's so used to just eating healthy food and then you eat something
right.
bad.
Oh, it's nuts. Because I've done keto many times or my version of keto many times, and I never experienced what I'm experiencing now doing carnivore. And I would always have my cheat days, weeks, months on keto, and but I just continued to feel like crap. So I didn't get to a point where I actually felt better, and then introduce something not you're not supposed to eat, and then instant feedback from your body like you screwed up.
Yeah. Yeah. So since you did keto quite a bit, what is your take on all the products out there that say keto friendly?
I think they're a joke. They're totally a joke. But I want to explain that most of my keto was like lean chicken with like iceberg lettuce and huge salads with like an avocado. So that's how I was, or and eggs. That's how I was trying to do keto. It's totally different than how I'm eating now. But no, so those products I stayed away from. But I tried to make my own like desserts. Also a joke. I made cookies like with almond flour. It's a very specific story. Almond flour, chocolate, erythritol. My kids like them, and I was just downing these cookies, and then I just had a headache for 2 days. I'm like, oh yeah, that's something I noticed I did to myself for sure after eating something that was terrible for me.
Hmm.
But it's so easy to go off the rails on a ketogenic diet if you're not just doing it like cleanly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was drinking, you ever hear of sparkling ice
Mhm.
drinks?
I think I saw them last time I visited Chicago.
Okay.
I think I saw
So
them. Yeah.
I was drinking those. They say no calories on them. It's like no calories per serving, but then it's 5 calories for the whole bottle. So I'm like, how does that work? But anyway, it says no sugar, but then you look and one of the ingredients is sucralose. And I was
Okay.
drinking those,
Oh no, it's
and
terrible.
then I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta stop drinking those. And like when I
Yeah.
stopped, that was when I went really strict and everything. And
Mm.
it seems like the weight loss has really picked up, you know,
Oh,
the
that's
fat
great.
loss as well. I'm noticing a lot of fat loss, and yeah, that's made a big difference. And I think a lot of people don't realize that because it, you know, if you just look, it says no sugar on the bottle,
Right.
but
Right.
fake sugar is still sugar, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I'm glad you brought that up because you brought up the mashed potatoes, and I just now remembered that. So when I started, I was off of the fake sweeteners for the most part. like erythritol. I have like this erythritol stevia stuff that I was abusing. And then, so I was away from that for a while, but then when I was out of town, the coffee was terrible. And I was just using a lot of this stuff. My sleep got screwed up. I don't, I was like out of town. When I'm out of town, my sleep usually is screwed up, but then my back started hurting again. Like things I was correcting, I it seems date coincident if you get what I'm saying with reintroducing the sweeteners into my carnivore diet, and then my back it took like 2 weeks of not taking that stuff, and my back was normal again.
Mm,
So I think other than a little sip of something that my husband made, I've been off of it all month, and you feel a lot better. That would be my
yeah.
my cheating, my fakiness on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But even with it, like a little bit here and there when I started, I experienced a lot of good changes. But it feels a lot better not having any of that fake stuff in your diet.
Yeah. Definitely does. Yeah.
Yeah.
So before you started carnivore, and I might have missed this, so I apologize if I did,
It's
but did,
okay.
did you have any like health related reasons to really go
Sure.
to carnivore?
Sure. So, I've had like IBS symptoms for years, and I just blame that in living in South America, which should have resolved itself within like the last 6, 7 years I've lived here. So, um, hearing about carnivore, uh, yeah, hearing about carnivore, I've heard about a year and a half ago, and I heard people handling their IBS issues. I was never diagnosed with it, but definitely like on and off diarrhea for years, bloat, and when I would eat vegetables, it was it wouldn't help. It would just add to the bloat. I would eat these huge salads, and afterwards I would feel like, why don't I feel amazing? Like I'm supposed to feel amazing after eating all these vegetables. It would just like sit there, or like doing a green drink with like raw spinach and things like that. And it was like an explosion of an atomic bomb exploding in my stomach. So I think I'm eating like healthily. I hope I'm answering your question, by the way. So
Mhm.
I think I'm eating healthily, but I'm just having IBS symptoms for years. So it was that. And then I'm like 5'5" or 5'6", and I was very unhappy with my weight. I was basically 210 pounds, 209.8 pounds when I started. So I'm like, I got to handle this. I got to turn this around right now. So, yeah, those two things were the reasons I started it, and not, I wanted to see if that would help. But what I got from it was 1,000 times better.
Yeah, that's
Like
great.
within a week, the IBS was gone.
A week. That
A week.
wow.
Yeah. So
Wow.
people worry about the diarrhea starting carnivore. And I'm like, I've been having diarrhea for years. Oh, wow. My poop looks a little bit normal now. And then at like a month into it, now my poop is like how a poop's supposed to be. But it went from
Yeah.
total diarrhea, not all the time. Actually, can I say one story, even though you didn't really ask? I went on
Yeah.
vacation last Thanksgiving. We went to a place called Santa Marta in Colombia, and it's this beautiful beach town. So the night before, my stomach started hurting. Maybe a couple days before, my stomach really started hurting, and then the next morning, we're getting on the plane. My first vacation in I don't know how long, because the COVID, the flu that should not be named, and all that stuff. So it's our first vacation. I wake up, I tweak my back. I've had chronic back pain and shoulder pain for years. I tweak my back. I have diarrhea. I take some painkillers so that my back isn't hurting, but I think that just added to the diarrhea. The entire vacation was just diarrhea. We're supposed to go on excursions. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to the bathroom and see if I can clean out my whole system so we can go on this excursion. So then I come to, so this is like, you have to figure out your life when you're having these IBS issues all the time. And it's a disaster. I wish that would have happened at a different time, not my first vacation to a beach town, you know.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's it. There you go. I was trying to handle IBS. I was trying to lose some weight, and yeah.
And then you also mentioned the back pain.
Oh yeah. Okay. So
Okay.
yeah, I've had shoulder and back pain, and I did a short, maybe, I'm so glad I'm documenting this. Maybe like 3 weeks into it, I did a short, like 85% of my back pain's gone. Um,
Wow.
I started exercising and swimming, and I'm doing this like weird thing where I'm trying to like breathe underwater, but I'm so buoyant. So I have my kids sitting on my shoulders, and I'm under the water trying to like like walk with them on my shoulders. And the reason I say that is I would not have done that before starting carnivore. I would not want my children attached to my shoulders or my back because it was just chronic pain. Oh, I don't know how many times I'm complaining to my husband, can you give me a massage? Can you do something? I'm in pain. And now it's a little irritated because I'm trying to do some like weird exercise that I created, but it's not inflamed. Do you get the difference? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even really, it doesn't even bother me. It's like you worked out your muscle versus you're inflamed. You tweaked your back. There's been times where I'm like, I was in a shower and I went like this. And then it was like my whole neck just spasmed. And now I'm like walking around like Batman because I can't move my neck. Anyways, so yeah, that was something that resolved itself. And I had no idea that it was going to resolve itself. Or sleep. I sleep like a baby. I don't know the last time I slept so good. Take into account I do have two small kids and they do wake me up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, water, mom, I had a nightmare, you know what I mean? But I can go back to sleep now. I'm not like staring at the ceiling for hours in a restless sleep. And
Yeah.
now it's amazing. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
It's really amazing that everything that the carnivore diet seems to fix.
It's
And
crazy.
I- what I've not heard from somebody before that's doing carnivore is I now have this pain or this problem that I didn't have before. I never hear
Yeah,
that. But you
sure.
always hear, I had this problem before and it's fixed. I had this problem and it's gone.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's just amazing.
It's totally crazy. I mean, I have all those successes and they're all amazing, but I always go back to this one thing that's like the craziest thing for me. And I hope your audience doesn't mind hearing about it. So let's talk about the menstrual cycle for a second.
Okay.
How is your wife? How does she have terrible menstrual cycles? I always ask this question because I grew up with terrible ones, and only after I did a YouTube video about it, someone's like, "It sounds like you have this condition called endometriosis," and I'm like, maybe I should look into that. So we're talking like 30 years of terrible, and I'll explain more. But what about your wife? Is she fine?
So she tends to have heavy ones.
But
Um,
is she in like excruciating, debilitating pain?
no, nothing
Oh,
like that.
okay.
No.
Oh,
But
okay.
so here's the interesting thing. My wife does not do carnivore or keto.
Oh, okay.
Actually, nobody in my family does. So
Okay.
that's what makes it interesting for me because I've had to do this on my own. And like at first, people were like, yeah, I don't know that that's the right thing, but okay, if that's what you want to
Sure.
do. And then it kind of got to the point of, oh, wow. I mean, he's losing weight and he's, seems to be feeling better. And then like my lab work comes out and, I was told that I was going to have really bad high cholesterol and so forth. And I don't. So they're like, okay, I still don't know that I can do that, but okay. So, I
Yeah.
wish that I could get the rest of the family because like I have my wife here and
Yeah.
I've got kids that are in college, but right now for the summer they're all back home and
Right.
so I got like everybody here right now and I think that they would all benefit from this way of eating, but
Sure.
I don't want to push them because I don't
Right.
think you can push anybody, right?
Right.
It's like they have to be ready to do something like this if they're going to
Sure.
be successful. Anytime you try
Right.
and do a diet, if you're not fully on board with it, you're not going to be successful. So,
Absolutely. And I think the best way is to like set a good example. Like
yeah.
be the example, the leader, or whatever yourself. So I just want to go back around to this thing that I was talking about that
Hmm.
we segued from.
Yep.
So endometriosis is this condition where this lining called the endometrium kind of like grows out of control. It's crazy that I'm researching it now after I've had basically all the symptoms of this all my life, other than infertility, because somehow I got pregnant twice in 2 years. So it grows out of control. And this tissue puts itself in places it shouldn't be, like on your ovaries, on your fallopian tubes. It could put itself on your intestines. So a hallmark of this is debilitating periods. And an additional hallmark of it is nobody can believe that you're in that much pain and hence doesn't really believe you. Not
Mm.
everybody, don't worry. I liken it to like a repeated stabbing of your pelvic area with a rusty knife for hours on end. And a lot of women actually experience this. Once somebody mentioned it to me, I'm like, oh, maybe I should research this, because I did a YouTube video about how it 100% changed when doing carnivore, like all that. So I need to say though, after I had kids, it changed a lot and it became bearable versus unbearable, which it was for 20 years.
Hmm.
Uh, I still definitely had, there's like this cramping in your legs that happens, cramping in your butt. Like it's just weird that you should not be experiencing these things that happen when you have this condition. So it's very hard to diagnose. So I'm just saying I'm undiagnosed. This condition is undiagnosed. But if any woman would talk to me and they had the same, our symptoms would be exactly the same, because how I explain it, I find other women on YouTube are explaining it the exact same way. The
Hmm.
stabbing, this weird cramping in your thighs, uh, just various other things. Anyways, so I know that's kind of maybe boring to you, but I got to talk about it because maybe somebody will see
Oh,
this and
yeah, no,
maybe
it's
it'll
good.
make sense to them.
Yep.
So within 3 weeks of starting carnivore, and I was stricter at the beginning with what I was trying to be stricter at the beginning when I first started, and I fell off a little bit. Within the first 3 weeks, my cycle showed up, and it like surprised me. Like there was zero pain, no pain. So from excruciating pain, 1 to 10, 500 before, like when the doctor asks you 1 to 10, it would have been way high. And then after I had kids, it changed, but I still had discomfort and pain, to nothing within 3 weeks of just eating steak, bacon, butter, and eggs. And I hope that it's not just me that would help. Like it's totally crazy. And then the last cycle like snuck up on me, or before last. I'm like, wait, what's happening? How is this happening? Like I'm so used to experiencing something wrong, something that's not normal that I've accepted as normal for so long. So I really hope somebody sees this, that this communicates to, because I really think that someone needs to start the carnivore diet, because endometriosis is also, there's genetic factors that you can be predisposed to it. And I found out that my mom had a similar condition and my grandmother had a similar condition, but it's autoimmune also. There's an autoimmune aspect. So when you do a carnivore diet, it seems to uh, eliminate symptoms or whatever. I don't know if it's gone. You get what I'm saying? But there's no
Hmm.
symptoms showing up of this autoimmune condition. So there you go. I highly recommend eating high fat meats, butter, bacon. Eat the delicious foods you always want to eat that people are telling you are so unhealthy. And look what you can do to your body. You can totally change it. Oh, by the way, I literally don't wear deodorant anymore.
And so you mentioned Dr. Barry before, Dr. Ken
Yeah.
Barry.
Yeah.
So it, and kind of continuing along the lines of what we've been talking about here, and you did mention a little
Yeah.
bit fertility issues.
Yeah. Yeah.
He'll be the first person to tell you that the carnivore diet helps fertility, even low
Yeah.
carb, but
Oh,
especially
sure. Yeah.
carnivore helps fertility issues.
Yeah.
And for women out there that may be starting to go through menopause, um,
Right.
it can kind of reverse that. And if you're not careful, you could get
Yep.
pregnant if without
Yes.
wanting to. So if you do go low carb or carnivore, keep that in mind that you might need to be careful.
Yeah, everything changes. Your hormones all balance out. And as a woman, things get really exciting. You're like in your 20s again.
Yep. Yep.
Before you had those kids, before your life completely changed with small children. No, no, it's crazy. But that's the most amazing thing to me, is what happened to me when my menstrual cycle showed up. I wasn't expecting anything. I wasn't even thinking about that at all as
Yeah.
something I wanted to handle. But yeah, it totally handles all the female hormones if you eat high fat animal foods. It just
Yeah.
like seems to just, like uh, make everything neutral. Um, or balanced, or whatever you want to say.
Hmm. Well, and so you said that that condition seems to be more like an autoimmune disease type of thing.
Right.
And
Yeah. For my
I
research
mean,
I've done.
really, most of the autoimmune disease stuff that we've had is in the last 50 years or so, right?
Right.
Since
Right.
processed foods and more sugar has
Sure.
come into play.
Sure.
And there's all kinds of people out there that have said that their autoimmune disease has been reversed by going on carnivore. So
Right.
it just shows you eliminating all the bad stuff, the processed food and the sugars that, yeah, it's just amazing.
It's totally amazing. And knowing more and more about this and understanding it now. I mean, I wish I had this data when I was like 13 when this all started, right? But we grew up on like French fries and McDonald's and Domino's pizza and ice cream, and no wonder,
Mm,
no wonder this hit me so hard. But I was like a chubby or skinny kid, like depending on a growth spurt. But during my teenage years, it wasn't affecting me because I was overweight. I was like normal sized, even if I had a different image of myself. Looking back, I was not overweight. You know, you get those. You don't look like what the girls on Teen Vogue look like, so you're obviously overweight. But my point of saying that is, it's not an issue of obesity necessarily. It's an issue of like, yeah, autoimmune. And most of the women I'm researching on YouTube who have it are not overweight. So,
yeah.
but I do believe it is the McDonald's, the Burger King, the Wendy's, the In and Out burgers,
Mm,
etc.
yep.
Yeah.
And I mean, you go to the store and something that I was told from a nutrition person, I don't know, a few years back. If you go to the grocery store, never shop in the inside aisles because that's where all the bad stuff is. And it's true.
Right.
Like if you pick anything up off of one of the shelves and look at the
Yeah.
ingredients, there's like 50 ingredients in there.
It's crazy.
It's not real whole food. It's all processed
Right.
stuff.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And now it's even easier. We just, my husband just calls the butcher and we get a delivery. We're just avoiding grocery stores entirely.
Yeah. So your husband's
Yeah.
on carnivore as well then, right?
Uh, no, but he's, if, sort of, not
Okay.
purposely. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Just kind of following what you do basically,
Yeah,
sort of.
it depends on who's cooking.
Yeah. Okay.
He's making me carnivore meals if he's cooking, and if I'm cooking, I am. But like the kids wanted some plantains and potatoes, so we made that for them. They're not doing carnivore, but they're also eating a lot more red meats. My daughter, I did a short yesterday. She wanted to eat sardines for breakfast. She's 5. At least I got them. They're at the right age to understand. Like I can teach them early, basically. Not how I was taught. I can teach them a little bit better.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, they're not carnivore, but they're eating more. They're eating better. They're eating better.
Yeah. That's good. That's
Yeah,
good. Unfortunately, when my kids were little, I didn't, you know
sure.
that the food that they were eating was bad. So they started right away into eating a lot of not good for you foods, and so it's hard for them now to even think like, how, there's no way I can eat like you, Dad, because I'm
Yeah,
just so used to eating this. I want to eat it, and it's like I I'm like, there, I get it. They're not ready.
sure.
They gotta want to do it themselves. If they're saying things like that, then they're not ready to try something like this. So
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I think it's just setting an example, and you're going to lose more and more weight. You're going to get healthier and healthier. And same here. I think that's the best way. You can't force food's very personal to people, and you can't force them to eat one way or another.
mhm. That's a good point to say that
Yeah,
food is very personal, both to people, personal thing,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because in our society, and this was me before carnivore,
yeah,
a lot of entertainment, like how we're going to entertain ourselves, is
yeah.
kind of centers around eating.
Right.
Um, a lot of times, like if you want to go out or something, it's because you're going to go out to eat or something, or
Sure.
maybe you're gonna. And obviously, I'm a little bit older, so I'm not going clubbing. But when younger people might be going clubbing,
Yeah.
they're still going to
I'm
go and eat and stuff, right?
right.
So
I think
there's
we
so
might be
much
around the
centered around
same age, by the way.
that. Okay. So I'm 49.
Oh, maybe not. I'm 39. I'll be 40 this
Oh,
year.
okay. Wow.
You look younger.
I don't know about that, but losing the hair. So, but
Yeah,
you do
no.
look really good for 39. So,
Oh wow, thank you so much.
yeah.
It's the lack of drugs and alcohol in my life. I did smoke for 20 years though, but or 17 years. But I
Yeah.
will blame it on the lack of recreational drugs and alcohol that kept me looking youthful. Or just good
Yeah.
genes. Just good genes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
no, totally. Yeah, no, when I did go clubbing, when I was a teenager, yeah, sure, you're eating
yeah.
or whatever. If I go home now, if I go visit my family, all we talk about is food. I'm from the Midwest.
Mm.
I'm from Chicago. You heard of the taste of Chicago?
Oh
We
yeah,
just
yeah.
love food there. We're like addicted to food there.
So I'm originally from Toledo, Ohio.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah,
Nice.
so
The
not too
Midwest
far from
also.
there. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm Polish, and Polish people like their fried foods and baked goods and stuff like that. So all the stuff that's
Oh,
not really
wow.
good for you, right?
Yeah, but I love kielbasa. That's Polish, right?
Yeah, it is. And actually, I learned how to make my own homemade, which is pretty good for you. Well, where I live now in Virginia, like nobody makes real kielbasa. Like you go to the
No,
store and they have like what's Polish kielbasa, and it's nothing like that. That's not kielbasa to me.
sure.
So the closest place was like an hour away or an hour and a half away that I had to drive to get something, and it just wasn't worth it. So I ended up learning. I had an uncle that made it, and I learned from him and started making it. And I use all natural ingredients. And yeah, I the only bad thing is I do put pepper and garlic in it,
Yeah,
which if you're gonna have kielbasa, it's got to have pepper and garlic, in my
sure.
opinion.
Sure.
So that's not really strict carnivore, full carnivore or anything. So
Kind
it's
of
only
dirty
like more of a
carnivore.
yeah, it's more of a holiday food, and that's the
Yeah,
only time. But
sure.
since I said holiday, that's a good one because I definitely struggle with it. So how do you deal with the holidays? I mean, you talked a little bit about the Easter thing, right?
Yeah.
Um,
I haven't really experienced, I mean, my daughter's birthday was the only holiday so far that I've had to like go through, actually.
mhm.
I was Christmas and New Year's is really big here. The Colombians just want to party all night long and drink booze all night long, and the food's really good. My husband's aunt is a professional chef, so it's just delicious. So I don't know what's gonna happen.
Mhm.
Maybe I don't want to cheat, and I don't want to drink alcohol because I'm gonna feel really bad afterwards.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I think that if I just gotta remember how I felt when I fell off the wagon, and I know that I don't want to feel that way again.
Yeah. So here's my experience from last year. Like I
Yeah,
said, I started in July, right?
yeah,
And I was doing really good, lost quite a bit of weight. And then I got to Thanksgiving and I was like, okay, that's cool because I can eat turkey and whatever. But then
yeah.
I decided to have some mashed potatoes and
Oh
whatever else.
no.
So that day didn't go so well. And then I was like, this is where I got myself into trouble. And this is why I am now doing really strict carnivore
Mhm.
and really trying to do check-ins like every week and so forth.
Okay.
Because I was like, well, you know what? I've been doing really good with my eating. It's okay if I have a cookie today. And I'd eat a
Okay.
cookie.
Yeah.
And then the next day, oh, there's all these Christmas cookies that my wife made. I'm going to have another one.
Sure.
Right. And before I know it, between that and just other things that was going on, I ended up gaining 10 pounds in December.
Oh wow.
And I started to feel myself not feeling as good. So
Right.
I got into January and I stopped that part at least. And I wasn't doing that anymore. But there was still the occasional, like I said before, like mashed potatoes or something or whatever. Um, I like going to Mexican restaurants and getting chips and salsa, and I
Oh
know the
man.
chips are horrible for you, right?
Right.
But I do it, and so that would be another thing that would happen every once in a while. Maybe once every couple of weeks, we would go to a Mexican restaurant, and I'd eat
Yeah.
that. So there was still some things happening there, but it wasn't like in the holiday time period, right?
Right.
And so I didn't gain any more weight, but I really wasn't losing weight for a while. Not
Okay.
until I really decided to get strict and say, I'm not going to eat any more of this stuff. And I'm not going to drink like those sparkling ices and so forth. And I'm just going to drink plain water. And then that's
Okay.
now where I've started to lose weight again. So I've lost in the last month about 15 pounds, which puts me at like 75 pounds now for the year.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. That's
Yeah.
incredible. So when I first started, I said in one video a week I lost 12 pounds, but I looked at my calendar. It was like 2 weeks, I lost 12 pounds. And
Mm,
I was like, that's awesome. I think it was all water. And then within the
yeah.
first month, I lost maybe 18 pounds the first month. Oh, so something I haven't mentioned yet. I have a thyroid condition and I refuse to take thyroid medications. And I just got my blood work done and I still have a thyroid condition. So maybe I
Mm,
can heal it with carnivore without taking meds because I think that just screws it up. So, anyways, the reason I
hmm.
say that is it's almost impossible to lose any weight if you have a thyroid condition. So now I am 3.5 months in and I've lost 26 pounds. So this is incredible to me.
Yeah, that's
that
great.
even, yeah, I feel I look like it's only 26 pounds, but I'll send you some before. I don't have any directly before, but I have like within a couple pounds of where I started what I looked like. And I looked like definitely like I've lost like 50 pounds.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
I look
great.
totally different. My face was like, it looks really, I always have chubby cheeks. I've always had like these big cheeks, but it was even, my face was very swollen before. So I'm happy that 3.5 months in, I'm down 26 pounds. I started taking some Lugel's iodine. I do one drop in this in the morning, and that seems to help. That seems to,
Mm,
apparently that'll help your thyroid iodine. So I'm testing that out.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I have heard from people that the carnivore diet does help their thyroid. So, and everybody's different, right? So you're three and
Yeah.
a half months in, it could
Yeah.
take you 6 months to a year before it really does it for you.
Oh,
Um,
sure.
because there's people out there that'll say like, yeah, I tried it for a month and it didn't work. And it's like, well, you might not have tried it long enough because yes,
Right.
some people notice things right away in the first couple of weeks.
Right.
And like I even noticed things in the first couple of weeks and then other things took longer.
Sure.
So, it's definitely something that could just take longer for you, that
Sure.
particular.
And I'm not like any other time I've done like a diet to like lose weight. Funny enough, it was usually like a carnivore diet. I didn't realize that's what I was doing. Back before my thyroid was messed up when I was younger in my 20s or whatever. But I have done some stupid low calorie diets also, which didn't help, I'm sure. But that was always like, let's do this diet. Let's race for this month and see how much weight we can lose, like a friend of mine or something like this. And then we'd be done. Oh, wait, we lost 30 pounds in a month because you can do that when you're 18. You know what I mean? And then, but then you just go back to your old eating habits. And carnivore and this lifestyle for me is not like a race. I don't plan on changing how I'm eating. Like I was going to do 3 months and maybe like re-enter some vegetables, and I have no intention of re-entering anything, not even an avocado at this point. If I need
Mhm.
to, I will. But I don't see a reason to at this point. I don't want to eat it. So for me, when you do carnivore, you can't just do it for a month. You got to do it for like at least 3 months. And it's like a war of attrition, not a race.
Yeah.
Like your body's slowly like repairing itself, and just be patient. Plus, you can eat as much of the most delicious foods ever that you want.
Yeah.
You're not like sacrificing. You're not. Have you
Right.
ever heard of that HCG diet where you take that hormone HCG and then you eat like super low calories and you're eating like the blandest chicken with like one strawberry and that's and an
No.
apple? Oh, it's terrible. It really, I think that was the beginning of wreaking havoc on my body. I did that when I was like 27. And then right after that was the turning point of me being the fattest in my life ever. And that was, I was like 20. I did this stupid diet. I lost a ton of weight and then I gained even more back. And I was like 170 pounds. And I remember crying about my weight. Probably one of the first times I was ever crying about my weight. So not recommended. This, when I did it right, eating like Atkins or carnivore to lose weight, that's the right way. Low calorie will wreak havoc and will destroy your body,
Yeah.
from my personal
I
experience.
I did something in 2017 that was really calorie restricting. And so the problem was it was kind of low carb, but it was
Yeah.
also lean, low fat.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
exactly.
your body like cannot survive without fat or carbs, right? Obviously,
Right.
ideal is the fat instead of carbs,
Right.
but you
Sure.
need one of them for energy. So yeah, I was not eating a lot of calories. I wasn't getting any carb really or fat. and I lost quite a bit of weight, but I just could not sustain it. I was
Right.
always hungry, and I was actually always getting hurt too. Like
Oh, wow.
I did workouts and I was always sore with the workouts and so forth. And now, like, I don't count calories. I don't worry about calories. I just eat as
Right.
much meat and, animal fat as I can until I get to that point that, well, I use what Dr. Anthony Chaffee always talks about. Um, when I'm at that point that it doesn't taste so good anymore, that's when I
Yeah.
stop.
Oh, okay.
And I, most of the time, I don't have to eat again until the next day.
Right.
And I'm not hungry. Whereas the other thing I was doing, I was eating no more than like 1,500 calories, and I was really worrying about how much I was eating.
Hmm.
But I would be eating like 3 or 4 times a day, and it was hardly any food each time, just because there was no way I could go all day without eating again, and I was always hungry. And now
Oh,
I'm
man.
not. I just don't get hungry until
Right.
at least 20, 22 hours later, then I might start to feel hungry or something.
Oh, that's great. I want to get to that point. I can pretty much do 2 meals a day. On the weekends, it's more difficult because I'm doing breakfast and my husband's not making breakfast. And
Hmm.
if I make breakfast, the smell of the good food is in my nose. I want to eat breakfast. But usually during the week, I'm not eating till like 11 in the morning. And that's when I'm like, oh, now I'm thinking about food and I'm starving and I can't concentrate on my work anymore. So I'll go eat something. And then I'll eat again at dinner time. And every time I think that, okay, I'm just going to not eat until tomorrow morning at 11, my body freaks out a little bit. And like, no, now you're hungry. So I'll eat some other meats and then I'll be fine till tomorrow.
And you're still rather new on carnivore diet, so
Yeah.
you may have certain nutrients that you might have been deficient on before
Oh,
that you
sure.
still need, and that's part of it. I ate 2 meals a day for the first 10 months or so on
Oh,
carnivore.
okay.
Um, it's just in the last month and a half or so here, probably more like a month, that I've gone to 1 meal a day. And I didn't even mean to go to 1 meal a day. It's just that when I cut out anything that was not meat, water, or salt, I got to the point that I didn't want to eat more than one
Oh,
time a
wow.
day. So I'm probably at that point that I've nourished
Mm,
myself enough over the last 10 months that I just don't need it. But before, yeah, I'd watch some of these videos and these people talking about OMAD and one time a
yeah.
day eating. And I was like, how can they possibly do that? I mean, sometimes I feel like I'm struggling just to only eat twice a day. So
Okay.
it definitely changes, and I've talked to other people that have been doing carnivore for like a few years, and they'll tell you that in the few years there's different times that they change based on what the needs are with their body. So
Okay.
like some people started out, they might have been eating 2 or 3 meals a day, then they went to
Yeah.
1 meal a day for a while, then they went back to two for a while, and it just depends on kind of what their
Mm.
body is telling them they need to do.
Sure. And yeah, exactly. I noticed that I will purposely eat more around that time of the month. I want to eat more. I'll eat 3 meals a day. I just don't want
Hmm.
to. I want to make sure the body has enough of what it needs to so I can sail through those days.
Yep.
you know. Oh, by the way, I drink coffee since
Okay.
I was 16, but it's black. I drink. I'm one of those sacrilegious carnivores. But I also eat eggs. I mean, I'm not just strictly, if I could only eat steak, I probably would. My husband yesterday was like, I'm so glad Brianna's eating sardines. You made a video about her eating sardines because you guys only talk about steak. It's like the church of steak.
Yeah. I love eating eggs myself.
Okay.
I do, especially now that I've only been eating once a day. I tend to eat a lot of steak,
Okay.
and I'm, I'm. It's not that I have money, because trust me, I got 3 kids in college that I'm trying to figure out
Oh,
how to
wow.
pay for.
Yeah,
So I don't
exactly.
have money necessarily, but I tend to get ribeye, which I know
Uh,
is kind of expensive. Um, but I can get it at Costco for like 11 something a pound,
Oh,
which
wow.
isn't
That's
too
good.
bad.
Yeah.
Um, and the way I look at it is we used to go out to eat a lot more and spend more money, or all the different things that you would buy, the different side dishes, and if I was going to eat some kind of snack food and stuff like that, right? Like I'd spent more money than what I am if I'm going to eat, let's say I eat a pound or a pound and a half of a ribeye. That's $17, $18 a day. That's still not that
Right.
bad. So I do that a
Sure.
lot. But there are other times I like to get eggs because like right now I think they're less than $1.50 a dozen if you just
Oh,
get
wow, that's
regular
great.
eggs. And if you're
That's great.
going like cage free, it's a little more like $2, $3
Sure.
a dozen. Um, Chicken thighs. Usually you can get them for less than $2 a
Oh,
pound.
yeah.
So I love getting chicken thighs, chicken wings. I'll eat stuff like that. So I'm not like
Okay.
always
You're
beef
not
and
lying. You're not
yeah,
lying.
always steak. Yeah, I'm definitely not lion diet. No. Um, but I will say that if I go several days in a row eating steak, I do seem to feel better for some reason. I don't know why,
Yeah,
but
me too. Me too. I feel a lot better.
yeah.
I'm gonna try. I heard that you could do like a sardine fast, and I'm gonna try this just to do a YouTube video about it. I'm gonna eat sardines for 5 days and see what happens. Like a
Yeah.
Mr. Beast video. I did XYZ for 24 hours.
It's funny because I can't really do sardines because the rest of my family gets mad at me because of the smell when I cook them, and I'm not going to try and eat them raw or anything. So
I just eat them out of
yeah,
the can. I thought they were cooked.
really. I,
Yeah, I just eat them out of the can, like tuna fish.
I mean, you might be able to get some that are cooked. I don't know.
I
I
didn't think they
bought
were not cooked. I've been
so
eating
the
them like that.
so there's different ones you can buy, and like the ones that I bought were uncooked and
Oh, okay.
in water
Okay.
instead of olive oil or anything
Yeah.
like that because
Yeah.
yeah, I heard like, you don't want to get the stuff because it might say olive oil, but it might be a really bad olive oil and whatever. It's like,
Well,
okay, fine.
I
So,
know.
so I got the stuff that wasn't cooked and I cooked them up. And then, yeah, my family was like, that is horrible smelling. No, you're not going to do that again. And I'm like, okay.
Okay. Um, yeah, no, the only ones that I can find, they're either in tomato paste or they're in olive oil. So I just took the ones in olive oil and I'm like,
Mm,
okay, I'll deal with the olive oil. I'm not purposely eating the olive oil. I'm trying to eat the other stuff. Yeah, because you don't know if it's really soybean oil. But I
yeah.
didn't feel bad the times I ate them. And I know if I ate any soybean or vegetable oil, I would have felt like crap probably.
So what about other like seafood, like shrimp or salmon, stuff like that?
No,
Do you
I
eat
love
that kind of stuff?
salmon. So yeah, salmon's kind of expensive, and if I buy
Hmm.
any salmon, my 6-year-old's eating all of my portion. So that's why we're like, let's do sardine. It's only $1 a can. No, but my son loves fish,
Yeah.
and he loves salmon. But we don't. I bought some shrimp, and then my son ate it, and then he had a rash all over his body. So
Mm,
we don't. I don't want to buy that stuff because I don't want him to accidentally eat something and then have some sort of allergic reaction.
yeah.
Um, but we do fish. He does like salmon. It's just when we want to spend that money. Do I want to spend that money on the salmon or do I want to spend the money on the steak? For me, I want to spend the money on the steak.
Right, right. Yeah.
Yeah, the little fish. They want to eat the little fish.
Yep. All right. Yeah. So if he had a rash from the shrimp, I wonder if he's got like a shellfish type of allergy or
I think
something.
so. I think so. My
Hmm.
dad once mentioned he has something, so maybe it's like
Hmm.
genetic. I
Yeah.
can eat it. I'm totally fine eating it,
Yeah.
but
Hmm.
don't want to try it again.
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't try it either.
No.
Yeah. All right. So, I know you have a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Do you have any other social media that
Um,
people can reach you if they need to or would like to?
I have Facebook, but it's just my personal profile. I changed over recently to like a professional profile, so it's like more
Mm.
public, but you're
Okay.
going to find all sorts of stuff there. If you want to talk about carnivore and talk about results, that's on my YouTube channel. And I'm focusing on that because I don't want to get dispersed onto like Instagram and then all these other things I have to learn when I'm trying to just learn YouTube right now.
And what's your YouTube channel name again?
It's my name. It's right here, Alia Wells.
Okay. And I'll
It's
have that in the description as well for everybody so that they can
thanks
go check out
with
your
my
channel.
face
Yeah.
because there's other
Okay.
Alia Wells. So make sure you see my face.
Oh, Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. All right.
Nice.
Um,
Thank you. Yeah, come
and
subscribe to my channel and also
yeah,
his channel.
yeah. All right. So then I think, I want to thank you for coming on the show today, or the show,
Sure.
on the channel today for an interview. Um, and like I said, her YouTube channel will be in a link to it will be in the description.
Thank you.
Um, and do you want the Facebook to be in there as well, or?
No, it's not necessary, but if you want to find me on Facebook, you can. There you
Okay.
go.
Okay.
It's everything. It's not just health related,
Yeah. Okay.
you know. Yeah.
All right. So what I guess I'd like to do here is just kind of turn it over to you for some finishing comments before we end the interview.
Okay, cool. So here's what I want to say. I think that everybody's talking about carnivore on YouTube, Instagram, or whatever platform they're talking about it. I think that we're like one big team because we need to spread the word. I don't see anybody as competition because I think the most important thing is that we spread the word that there is a way that a person could eat that could heal their body. And then this is the other thing I'm constantly thinking about. Your body, you're born, maybe there's a few people born with birth defects, but basically everybody's born with like this perfect, like sexiest car on the planet, the best running machine on the planet. And it's also like self healing. The problem is that we've been taught to put the wrong fuel into our bodies. And we've been doing that probably since we got off the boob. As a baby. Now you're eating food, you're eating the wrong food. You started eating the right food, now you're eating the wrong food. You're putting the wrong fuel in the body. You're putting the wrong fuel in the car. And so then we send the car to the mechanics, and the mechanics don't know what fuel to put in either. So it's just like this long process of your car breaking down. So the second you start putting the right fuel into your body, it starts healing itself. And maybe because you've been putting the wrong fuel in for 40 years. Now you're putting the right fuel in. You got to be a little bit patient, but the body, the car, it actually knows what to do. I'm trying to make an analogy here. Your body knows what to do to heal itself. You got to put the right fuel into it. Whatever that is for you on the proper human spectrum, on the proper human diet spectrum, as Ken Berry says. And some of us need to go super low carb and just eat fat and animal meat and products. And that just find out where you are on that and be patient, and you can probably turn almost any metabolic situation around. That's what I want to say. Thanks for
Yeah.
listening.
Yeah. Very well said. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome.